rather than Lincoln. That I call to order the Lincoln City Council meeting. Today is Thursday, November 21st. First on the agenda is standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the auditor, we just roll call please. Artalia. Here. Davis.
Here.
Granstead.
Here.
Here. The agenda now is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'm going to amend our agenda and remove the October statement. It did not get into balance yet. Then I will make a motion to approve the amended agenda.
We have a first, is there a second?
A second.
So we have the first by Councilwoman Davis, second by Councilwoman Artalia. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And so moved. Now we will open up the floor for public comment. If you would come to the podium, state your name.
Mayor, Council, my name is Ryan Glass. I just want to briefly talk about item 13, the animal discussion. I just want to ask Council to keep an open mind. I know that this is in regards to the chicken ordinance that recently failed. The ordinance failed by only 33 votes out of 591 total votes. So it's a very divided topic in Lincoln, but there is quite a bit of support. So I just ask you to keep an open mind. And maybe you can consider working on it and see if you can find a way to get this ordinance to be able to be something that would work for both people that want to have chickens in Lincoln and protect the properties, rights of the residents that you know. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second call, public comment. Third and final call. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, we have the November 7th minutes, October payables, and the 2025 meeting dates.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have the first by Councilman Davis,
I'll second.
the second by Councilman Bjorkstad. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And so moved. Under old business, number 8, the sewer regionalization easement proposal.
At this time, we do not have an update. I do know Greg is working with the appraiser to get some additional information to the appraiser to keep that moving forward. But other than that, there's no update. Yeah, yes,
Mayor and council members, the appraiser did have a list of items that they wanted to see if we could help out just to simplify the process a little bit for them. So we're working through that. We'll give them as much as we can. Do some things to help out to get himself or reach out to. That's where that part of it's at. I did actually talk with the city business engineer today just to follow up on easements with them, and they're in favor of doing it, but they're still waiting on the final decision on payment or not. Everyone that's familiar with it says no, there shouldn't be any payment, but they believe that probably have the higher numbers. So they may take it to the city commission for final. Yeah, just a little update.
Thank you. Moonbridge drainage.
like at last meeting, Monty is working on this, and when he gets back into the States, he'll have an update at the December meeting.
Okay, under new business, Public Works, mower purchase and snow pusher purchase.
It's me already. Okay.
Is that a new vehicle as snow pusher?
No, I vehicle. I ain't going that expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Council, mayor. So we've been mowing a lot more. We mow the ditches, we mow lots around town, everything like this here, and the mower we have is from 2016. So it is up there in age. We've been having some problems with it here and there. So I would like to get your guys' approval to purchase a new riding mower. I've already reached out to a bunch of different other places and got some quotes from them. Every place that I reached out to is on Sourcewell. So I covered that base, and I just kind of need your guys' approval on what I can do here for that, for the mower part. And then for the snow pusher, I've been looking, I'm getting some prices on those. Basically, I was just kind of trying to find a different pusher for that mini loader. We have one that kind of works on the skid steer we used to have. It doesn't really work on this piece of equipment, so I was kind of trying to find something different, a little bigger, something that's got some wings that we could close up because we're going to use it for doing cul-de-sacs and stuff like that, which we kind of just pull it all in the middle, so I don't have to worry about gating anybody's driveway or anything like that. So it's kind of just along those lines of something like that for a pusher. So basically just kind of what I did find out is they're around like 20,000 around that. So I did talk with Titan Machinery. They're getting me a quote here tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow. And I did talk to a guy at Custom Trucking Equipment, and they have one that's around that 20,000 mark for that. So
What about that? The mower, you haven't said anything about purchase price of that. Have
Oh.
you found one that you do want?
yes. So what I found was they have these it's called an Altos mower. It's got tracks on it, and it's got like a rough cut deck. It's made for slopes and everything, because we mow the drainage ditch part over here. It gets to be pretty steep in there, and
Do you use it to mow around the lagoon too, or no?
not so much around the lagoon, no. Lagoon Road, there's the little drainage ditch over there that we try to hit, but
I wasn't sure if you did or not.
yeah, no, that's mainly with the tractor up there, so.
Oh.
And then the price for this one is around, it's like 17,849. And then we would sell our other one on Gov Deals to see about getting some money back for this
You know
also.
what you would list that price for, the 2016 for?
Well, I know I talked to some of the places and they were like $4,000 on trade-in, so I'm thinking we could probably get more than that if we were just to outright sell it ourselves. So.
Is that something, I know, inner cities can use if there's another entity that would be able to use that they would, I don't remember off the top of my head if they could just do a straight out buy. Because it's all,
Well, I know Parks bought like 2 new riding mowers this year, the beginning of this year, I believe it was 2. I know they bought this one, it was like a Ferris or something like that. And then they have the other ones, yeah, so. I can see if they were looking at another one, maybe, I don't know, but. Another reason why we were looking at getting rid of this one is you just can't find parts around here for it. Like everything, you gotta buy it on Amazon, tire, blades, all that stuff, you have to buy it on Amazon. there's no dealer remotely close to anywhere we are here,
That
so,
makes it tough.
yeah, so.
So if you were, or council was to approve that, how long until you were, how long until you would be able to purchase or get said items, do you know?
I believe they have this one in stock, so I'd be able to get it like in this next month or two. Whenever I want to, pretty much.
And since they're over 10, we have to post, right? Bid it out, right, since it's over 10,000 pricing?
No, it's on Sourcewell, so we don't have to do that.
For the
That's right, that's
purchases of source, well, I need to check on selling the. Because there's requirements of publicizing.
That one we have to publicize, we have to do all that because it'll be over $3,000.
Okay, gotcha,
So that one we have to post online, do all that stuff, and then we can post it, so.
makes sense, okay.
So what are you looking for council motion to approve, both
Um,
or one?
one or both of them if possible, or whatever you guys decide, pretty much. I've pretty much looked at my budgets and I've gone through all the numbers, and from what I have left this year, I would be able to afford to get both of these on top of buying the sander that you guys approved me to get also, so I have been looking at all my numbers. I know I can afford all of this stuff, so.
That was my question.
As in your portfolio?
I don't really have any objections. I think, over the last year or so, as you've been buying some, like upgrading equipment, I know you've been doing a good job at trying to sell off the equipment we no longer use to help cover a lot of that cost, so. I think as long as it's in your budget, I think, I guess I don't have any objections.
So is that a motion?
I would make, how about we start with them, since you do have numbers on the mower at this time, how about we just start with a motion on that one, and then you can come back at the next meeting.
Okay.
With some final numbers on
Yes.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a new mower from Public Works.
So we have a first from Councilman Bjornstad. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
A second by Councilman Davis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And if we get a roll call, please.
Ernst,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
and Artavia.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 11, under new business is the parks state aid distribution.
Discussion.
Right. Oh,
You said this.
oh. Well, it's called state aid distribution. Discussion. So currently, park district is at 7.8. I believe Century Code allows up to 30. If it isn't increased at a council level and reverts back to the 1995 rate. Well, back in 1995, we were, Park District was receiving 7.8%. It has not been increased in that time. And, that's 30 years ago. So I was hoping, that we could take a look at that and discuss increasing that amount.
Is there, not for or against at this point, but is there a specific need that they would have for increasing it at this point?
Well, one of the biggest things, I attended the Park District meeting on Tuesday, and a lot of the discussion was the trail, the walking trails, and they've been trying to get some of those grant dollars to extend the walking paths. They have been awarded any this last year, but they want to still continue on with that. And this would extend down 66. And ultimately they'll go, west and south. But because we've already got it started, that's where they would like to continue going. And that would help immensely. Those, just the lights alone, what were they, $10,000? And that's for one light. So increasing, it is taxpayer dollars, so that would just be a way for us to ensure that the park continues on with the projects that they have. And just so I new council members know, the city did help with funding of the walking trail going to Senex in the past. So, you know, this would allow them to do some of those works without coming to the city to ask for assistance. Not that they can't still do that, but couple of these. The biggest thing is, you know, you've got 7.8% when some cities are getting 30%.
Mayor,
Yeah,
are you
just kind of-
referring to mills? Is that the percentage that you're talking about?
State aid distribution.
Okay, so just the percentage of the state aid
Distribution, right, so, the city pays the park district 7.8%. So if that was increased, and I'm not suggesting going up to 30%, you know, that the city's still gets theirs. But if we were to increase it, just to allow for cost of living type of increase on it. Just so they can work on getting some of their projects done.
Do we know offhand what that percent amount is?
So we have our.
So we get the state aid monthly, and it's at the 7.8%. The last time when I did a payable to them, it was probably like 2,300. So I'm monthly, yeah. I mean, obviously it goes up a little and down a little bit, plus they get the 25% sales tax, but pretty usually around that 23 and 25.
Thank you.
4 months to be out on those months.
Pretty much.
And that's just one example.
Yeah.
Things that it would fetch, but it is everything that the parks does. It's quite good.
Where do you guys source the lights from? Oh, sorry, again.
We just had them.
Or
But we'd be interested to visit it.
Mayor, are you looking for a motion this evening on upping that percentage, or are we thinking about talking about it, crunching numbers more?
Well, we had talked about it a little bit in our budget discussions. But we did not come up with, or we have to have a vote on if we're going to, and if we are going to, the percentage. So I think we're aware that the conversation was had. It's just, if we are going to do it, what is that number going to be? And it would begin January 1, so. And like, I'm not asking for 30%, but even if we did incremental 10-12% instead of, you know, really, you know, maybe $1,000 more.
I guess I would be interested in talking more with, someone from the park board, perhaps at another meeting and look at the budget and look at their numbers for projects.
We just asked for it because it is, so. We plan on going from the church here.
Do you want to come up and share?
Council members, Rob Gibson, resident Lincoln. I'm also on the park board. And we did discuss that we would like to go from the church over here at the corner to 28th Avenue with the walking path. And then if we could go from this corner down to the city limits, going west.
South.
And then eventually we'd like to go from where we picked off by Senex and get to the bridge. Because if we get to the bridge, then maybe Burley County would help come from Bismarck out. And that's a lot of dollars. We haven't got the dollar amount yet, but we thought we could at least get the gravel down and get it all laid out for gravel and walking path, and then hopefully we can do the lights and the paving. Those are the two expensive things, most expensive things.
And this increase in state aid is a monthly, it's not a by project. It's just a percentage of the city's contribution to parks. So it really, the only part of the budget that it would impact is their ability over the long term.
So with the cost, it's gonna be hard to get a grant for the next 3 years, when they were talking, so. And there's other projects like pickleballs and the beanbag throw thing that we want to do around here too, so there's a lot of some projects. You got a list.
And with the new park equipment and
Yeah.
things like that and all that.
So would it be feasible for somebody to come and speak to council and for us to get this on the agenda for the next meeting and talk about
think so.
projects?
I can bring it up, and see who wants to do it. Hopefully we'll have numbers by then.
I'm interested in learning more.
Okay, or you can come to the next park board meeting too.
Love to do that.
Rob, I do have a question for you. You know, you're at 7.8% right now, right? With funding. What would be ideal for you as a park board member to see that would benefit the park?
I can put him on the spot because the auditor wasn't there last night, so I don't know what his thinking was, but mine was thinking was 10-12, but I'm not sure.
They've been getting the 7.8 for 30 years. That's the city gets a big.
It's nice to know your opinion and where you would like to be, since you do deal with the money and the dollars and see how it is distributed. So that's why I asked.
We do have a lot of projects lined up to do too. So I can also get that this way too.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Rob.
I just got one question. Is Parks gonna hire somebody full-time to maintain the walking paths then? Because you can put them all over the place. If you can't get down them, they don't really matter. So
Well, right,
that's the other thing, they're gonna have to worry about getting somebody hired full-time to take care of them, because I mean, as of right now, there's snow on the walking path going down Senex. So, I mean,
Yeah, Brock and I push them. Right now, we don't have a model on the truck. The truck's got to go in, get the front end line. And I'll drive it down the road. It's possible, the right. Really
and
bad.
I know when,
So we want to get that fixed before you plow on. Yes, we need. See from Rock.
and that's what has happened the last couple of years after your employee has, are you anticipating hiring in full time? Or permanent, part time?
Yeah, that I know of. This has been brought up, so.
Thank you, Rob.
So, you'll take that back then to Parks and have someone at our next, at the December 4th meeting or 5th?
We can. We do that over the phone. Okay, once to show up.
Tanya, we get that up to,
but I can't.
We can. Yes, then I will see if somebody.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then that'll give us time to maybe we'll go up to 14 and
crunch some numbers.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Next on, any other questions, comments about that? Number 12, Ryan Glass, tree board, park board discussion.
Mayor, council. A while back, I don't have the specific date, tree board was looking into the idea of leaving the governance of the city of Langdon and transferring over to the park board. It was brought to the table, the commission approved that, but then our attorney at the time said that wasn't feasible due to some legal issues. I don't know if it was just the ordinance was going to be redone or if the city had obligations to maintain that board. I'm not entirely sure what the objection was, but when we heard that objection, we assumed that it basically had stalled out or died, and we thought that we were just gonna be keeping on. Mayor attended our meeting last week and informed us that it is still moving forward, so we just wanted to share that we would like to stay under Lincoln. We feel that the funds would be appropriate to stay under Lincoln because as the city grows, it's going to need a forestry budget. Forestry is typically handled under public works. Right now, it's currently, when it collects mills, it collects about 20,000 annually, which is, if a lot of that was heading towards public works, would be a good portion of somebody's salary, which would be being used to maintain trees, planting, maintaining, cutting down. We're starting to see the trees in the south side of Lincoln aging. So those projects are gonna start to become more and more expensive. We have felt that keeping that control with the city to maintain the ordinances that we have written about our trees makes more sense than trying to have this be a multi-government agency issue. So I guess I was just hoping to get some clarification, maybe get a reconsideration of the motion that we had passed back and have that motion state that, or the tree board would stay under City of Lincoln. But I'm open to any conversation or discussion you want to have on it. Curious what if the board does still want to go ahead and transfer this board to parks, what is the reason? What are the goals? What are we trying to accomplish by moving this board from one entity to another? Was it benefiting? Was it going to take away from the city of Lincoln? I think those are all worth having a conversation on. So I'd like to just open up to you guys and see what you all, if you have any questions for me or any discussion.
I do, but I'll let council first if you have any questions, thoughts. Having at the moment, no. And I was part of that discussion. You said as far as last week, but also when council decided to talk to parks. Back when I was on park district or on the park board, the discussion started because there was the park district was doing the work of the tree board. And the city didn't really have a hand in other than having those meetings. They didn't plant the trees. They didn't take care of the trees, which is how this discussion started up again. Because all the trees on 28th ended up dying because the tree board didn't have the membership to go out there and take care of it and didn't want, for whatever reason, that's what happened. So the activities of the tree board were not being completed by the city, they were being completed by the park district. Without the park district benefiting, other than keeping the trees alive. They take care of removal of some trees. Now I know in ordinance, you mentioned the forestry. Well, forestry is required on cities over 10,000. It took us 20 years to get 2,000 since we moved out here. So I don't know if that's something that's going to be in our immediate future, that 10,000 mark. But like I said, I had attended the meeting. They are open, still want to have. The only difference would be that it would fall under the park board rather than the city of Lincoln. They're two completely or separate little subdivisions benefiting the city.
So if it does go under park board, what would incentivize them to continue to maintain right-of-way trees such as our board trees? If those funds would be given to them, just hypothetically, what's to stop them from just spending that money in their parks? As a tree board we know that they have a huge need for trees. In fact, we're working on a quite large project, trying to joint partner with them to help plant trees in Daly Park, which I believe that check's been written. But then they have that new park on the east end of town, that's gonna be a big park, and we pledged tens of thousands of dollars potentially.
But see, the city hasn't received any plans since 2021.
And I understand, I can't speak to what the board was doing before, I'm on it now, and I'm trying to get it moving forward.
But
My
as
view
far
of the board is
as-
it's more of an advisory board, we get paid $50, we're not the ones that are gonna be going out every week and watering, we don't have a water truck, we don't have a tank. We don't have those things, and so asking that board to do it just isn't feasible. Now, if we were to, as a city, go, this board has $20,000, it's only spending 3,200 on its members. There's a lot of money to be giving to the public works department, which has a lot of that equipment already. Maybe that's something that we should have established many years ago, that these funds help pay for those activities, pay for their wages, pay for that equipment, pay for any expenses. Because that's what that money is being brought in through the mill levies for, is purchasing, maintaining trees.
But we don't have manpower for that either, you know what I mean?
Well, the public works, if fully staffed, I understand it's not, should have what, 4 or 5 members. We should be able to handle the small need that board would kick out in a year. We wouldn't be asking for hundreds of man hours, we'd be asking for the scant hours that the park board is already doing, and I mean, bring out the 2 gals who don't do a good job with the few that have been planted. With public works' better equipment, they might be able to do it more efficiently, especially if they were given, access to the storage fund that the tree board has collected to get this equipment and do it the correct way.
Any of those funds that are currently in tree board or forestry fund would stay under that. That was one of the questions I had asked, because this came up at the other meeting. I made sure that they even talked to them.
Would they be getting that 1.51 mil by taking this board over, or would the city be relinquishing that mil that this board collects
The
to?
money that, my understanding is that it would, instead of coming to the city, it would go to parks because they maintain it.
So so I guess that answers my
The-
question, would they get that mill then and add to their budget? Or would that mill get moved to something else within the city because?
That's outside of.
But that's something that we're gonna have to figure out if we're gonna be transferring this board. Is that money going with it? Because that money could be being used to support our forest department that is growing and is gonna need
Yeah,
more help.
and that would have to,
And I guess I do want to point out some projects that get overlooked that the park board has done in the past. The park board originally helped create that tree collection site. It's supposed to be maintaining the grass site. I don't think those funds have been correctly being taken out of tree board. And that's something that the city should probably look at and probably get back to. The point of the tree collection site from the tree board was to incentivize residents to maintain and clean their yards and trees up. And with those funds, take care of the expenses, so the residents don't have to pay landfill fees to the city of Bismarck. So if we get rid of that, are we giving that up? I was just talking with Director Shute today, he's actually looking at buying a burner for disposing of these trees ourselves. Do you have that number off the top of your head? That you paid to the landfill this year?
$7,626.58.
So if that money was saved with tree board being able to purchase that burner for the city, we have the funds for it. That would be money that would just be going back into our residents' pockets.
well, and I
have funds for that.
Instead of him taking that money out of a department that doesn't necessarily align to that as much. I mean, otherwise
Well,
we're
this
taking it
is-
out of street department, or we're taking out of our trash, which are trees trash or are they trees? So I think we need to just.
well, I mean, those are
clarify.
two different conversations. One is the tree board going to fall under the park district, which is common? Or is it going to be under the city, adding tasks to public works? And when it was voted on, it made sense to go under that way. Or to transfer over, so I guess it's discussion.
We just want to see what's gonna be best for the city and
Yeah.
the city's
And
trees.
either way,
The park also has staffing issues. It's not like going over there would be the fix all for staffing. They have 2 summer workers now, and as they just stated, don't at this time plan on hiring a full-time
but they're doing that work. I guess I don't, what are planning wise? Like I said, we haven't received anything. Plan or budget. Presented to council, so. Who did the watering of the trees and the planting?
My understanding is the parks, I was under the assumption that this board was paying them to do that. If that's not correct, I would hope they would reach out to us so we can pay them for the time that they invested in those trees, because those are park board trees. Under our ordinance, it does allow the park to sub out that work. It's called an agent. But we should make sure that if you have asked somebody else to do that work, that they are getting paid.
Which is how this conversation
Absolutely.
started a few years
Absolutely, if
ago,
they've been doing it for
because
free.
council didn't want to pay for that.
Sure, and I can't control what that council did either, it's
Yeah.
not right.
Well-
When asking them to do that work on behalf of that board, that's not right.
They also told Parks not to water the trees and take the bags off of the new trees, which is why all those trees on 28 died. So that's why we're all in this position as well.
But that has something to do with me or the current board.
No, well, I
Or
mean,
this board.
it-
No,
it's got-
nobody that's on
a lot of
that
things
board
tied
is
in.
involved in that decision.
My opinion, and my conversation on this discussion, is council already made the motion and I stand by that motion as council, as I was already on that council, made that motion as well. So I stand by the motion that tree board stay under park board. That's my opinion and discussion.
So then when that happens, we need to figure out what we are doing to that. We know that we need to figure out what is happening to that board. Is that board just being dissolved and just become a park board, or does the park board intend on having that board be separate from those who are from their members? None of that discussions happened. So
Well,
the members that are in
It
tree
has
board,
been had on that side as well as. On this side where we initially voted on that, is that it would stay the same. But you would fall under the umbrella. Tree board would fall under the umbrella of park district rather than the city.
so then to do that without causing them a financial burden, it would make sense to transfer that 1.51 mill levy to parks so they can maintain that board.
That would be my assumption, but that's the financial part of that.
So then we
We'd have to
want to,
get clarification.
sure, so then we just need to decide to what we want to do with the existing projects, like our disposal site, would that also be falling under their purview? Or would the public works be continuing that, and if so, how would we navigate those funds? We want to make sure it's fair for both subdivision and the residents as a whole, because the residents benefit from both parties.
Well, and my understanding from what I ever heard is that parks, or not parks, public works, sorry. Maintain it now,
Yes.
right?
Public works currently maintains the grass.
So I don't know that that.
But I don't know if the funds have been coming out of the correct spot. I think Gary's been using funds from other sources to fund that. That's probably not the right way to be doing it. We shouldn't be taking that out of other things. You know, we're asking you to pick up very specific equipment for just this. Yeah, like we do, they use a grapple to pick up the trees and load it into it's a really big bucket with the giant teeth on it.
Okay.
You know, they use that to pick that up. I know that that's gotten pretty worn over the last few years. He's probably gonna be needing to purchase one of them sometime soon too. Those would all be things that we would use if it was staying under the city. We would use those funds to pay for those items. Otherwise, we're just asking the city of Lincoln to take that out of his roads and street budget, or take it out of his sewer budget or trash budget. And is that the correct way to do it? So I mean, it's a little more complicated conversation than I thought when I was on council. And I was with Amanda when we made that vote, and at the time it made sense to me. But as I've dug into it more, I'm just concerned we're just opening Pandora's box and we're gonna have to answer a lot of ifs. So how are we gonna do it if we wanna do this? How are we gonna do this? So would it be easier if we're
Well,
trying
it's
to
kind
benefit
of the
both?
joint powers agreement that we have with parks.
It is,
There's
and
some-
I've wondered if maybe it'd make more sense to entertain the idea of doing something along those lines, having a written joint powers agreement between the tree board and the park board, so that these funds can also be benefiting them as well. Because I know
Well, then-
that that they're interested in having this under their umbrella because of the prospect of having more park dedicated projects.
The joint powers agreement we talked about back when you were on, and the joint powers agreement is basically, which is why we stopped, a gentleman's agreement that we're gonna work together.
Sure.
And so it wasn't necessary, because it's, well, if this, then maybe we're gonna help, so, but I know they are turning out something to add.
Yeah, the tree boards established by ordinance, and so any change in where the tree board will be under, or any change to it, the park board, or what I
It has to be
will,
ordinance.
yes.
And when I've been working on it since this discussion started months ago, after Attorney Rafferty had mentioned that it had to be a change in ordinance and resolution, I believe. So, yeah, tonight is just if we're going to continue on that route. And it's
That's what we're looking at, but
Not
is figure out if we were gonna continue on that path. If so, we need to have some serious conversations about how we're going to navigate the funds. Because I mean, the last couple of years, the tree board hasn't been doing anything. It's apparent even in just the budget. It hasn't collected a mill rate levy in 2 or 3 years because it's just not spending its money. It's been identified by this current board that needs to change. We need to start spending the money that it's been getting, and it needs to burn down what it has. It has way too much money in it. This would be an
Is this
awesome
the
opportunity.
updated, printout for what forestry has, Tanya? Sorry.
On the front sheet, you see right here, the balances, it's $104,131.50.
Sorry, hang on.
No problem. And so.
which could be one project over.
It absolutely could be, and we even attended the meeting last week. My focused project is a joint effort with the parks. We don't have numbers yet. I've been kind of just talking with park board members as I kind of bump into them. We're in the middle of winter. It's kind of hard right now to predict what to say, yeah, we're gonna give you X dollars, because they're just looking at their properties too, and kind of what they want. So being able
Well,
to
they
say.
don't even have that.
They don't, and that's where some of that hold is at. It's a big focus of mine, when I picture a big park, I picture really big trees and whatever, and I wanna be a part of that if I can. And if that's something we can do with these funds to burn this down, so it's fair to the taxpayers, that would make a ton of sense to me, and it benefits parks because they wouldn't have to lift a finger. They get the trees taken care of, planted by whoever we can, who do we source them through, we get the maintenance figured out. We even discussed with some of our members about supplying the water that maintains those trees. Most of Lincoln is, high aquifer, so there's no reason why we couldn't pay for the Sandpoint well that maintains those grounds and waters those trees. So I mean, there's awesome projects that could be talked about.
And see council. I mean, and that's one thing, if it does stay under the city of Lincoln, that needs to be coming to the council.
It absolutely. Yeah.
Because it's in ordinance that we have to be updated. So I guess the only question then for tonight is if we are going to continue on the road that was voted before to go and move the tree board under the umbrella of the park district, or to keep it under the city of Lincoln. And
I just don't want to see it accidentally take something away from the city, accidentally take
it's
something away from.
taxpayer.
It is. I'm not saying the residents, I'm saying the city as an entity. I'm saying if this moves, are we gonna accidentally affect the relationship with public works that we have with the tree and grass site? Are we gonna accidentally affect the ability to enforce notices that a tree is dying in the boulevard and needs to be removed at a homeowner's expense? I mean, those are things that the board has done in the past.
Well,
Through the
that
backing of
would
the
just
city.
change the ordinance, because as of right now, it's under our ordinance, that is a fine.
And I would assume those ordinances
would
would have to
stay
stay
in.
under city, and then we would just be moving parts of this ordinance to them, and some of it I would assume we would maintain.
The tree board would go,
The tree board aspect of this, but not the regulations.
but all of that falls under.
But not,
Tree
but
board.
not, probably not the enforcement if the city wouldn't want, unless the letter coming from the parks, but I mean, if someone living on. You know, Sturgis, for example, that doesn't have a park, gets a letter from park board saying cut your tree down because it's sick and a hazard. They might look at this as a White's Park writing me a letter, I don't have a park. Whereas it's city of Lincoln, it's coming from the city auditor,
Now it's still,
Still official letter though from the city, you know what I mean?
it'd be from a park entity, but they may or may not feel they have a. I just think those are all things that we need to figure out, and someone needs to go to legal, we need to figure out how we navigate that code as well, if it was under a different entity. Because there are enforcement things in here where it might get a little messy if you go, well, this is here, it's not on park property. So right now, in their jurisdiction is the parks, they don't have jurisdiction outside of the parks. We have our jurisdiction in our right of ways, which this board does have access to through the city. Right, so those are things that we need to be navigated as well. If the council doesn't want to make a motion tonight, that's fine. I think it's just something we need to have more discussions on.
well, the motion.
The motion's already done, so the next step would
Well,
be just
I-
to fine tooth comb what money is being allocated out of what account, which where, and all the other above that you have stated tonight. So that'll be the next thing that you go through what you would like tree guard to utilize their monies for. Park goes through what they want, we all come together and figure out, okay, allocated here, here, here. We're taking money out of this account, not this one, you know what I mean? All the
Well,
fun
if
fine
it
tooth
falls
combs.
under tree board, or if the tree board falls under the parks, it would be the parks decision.
Yeah, but yeah, we know that they're coming to you folks to be asking us.
So they would be having that conversation with.
Right, right.
So.
Yes, that's what I was just asking, tonight, is that something that this board wants to give up? Or is there anyone on this table that thinks that there'd be a benefit to leaving it under the city? Where you might have closer working relationships with public works versus parks staff.
To me, I think it's appropriate to leave it where it is and just to make sure that the
Where it is.
tree board with park board. Instead of the
Oh,
city,
okay.
and leaving that as stated, voted before. And just making sure that we just fine tooth comb the allocations of the money. Any other discussion or opinions from council?
I guess my thing is just that before anything is completed with like changing ordinance and stuff like that, yeah, it just really needs to be defined on who has what obligations. Just as I have a feeling, just with a lot of what Mr. Glass said, that right now, without that clarity, there's probably gonna be a lot of obligations that are dropped because one party's gonna be thinking that the other party's gonna take care of it, and vice versa. So yeah, I guess my main thing is just that there needs to be a very clear designation of who has what obligations.
And the ordinance, basically that. And I agree 100%. I think the conversation tonight is. Are you going to? Repeal the vote? If you're not, then we're gonna go with the assumption, yes, we're gonna carry on with the plan to have Park District take it over. And in that process, it's making sure ordinance encompasses all of the updates, the amendments to the ordinance reflect all of those concerns. And that, I mean, I think is wonderful to bring up all of those points, and those are things that maybe we've had to look on.
No, a lot of it was stuff that never occurred to me, and I've been serving on that board for a short while now, and it's just, wow, yeah, once you get looking into it, there's a lot here. I mean, there's a lot of things in this ordinance that I didn't know the tree board was supposed to be doing. And with the staffing concerns it's had, some of those have just been getting dropped, and the board now realizes that these are things that should, we need to find ways to move forward, which is why I was suggesting more of a partnership with Public Works to see, and to make it fair.
Yeah, well, it is hard to.
We're as a community, we're such a tough side.
But I'm along the same lines. I think we voted, there was a reason that the discussion came up on both sides. Parks is doing the work already. The planning part of it comes with the tree board, but the carry through or the follow through of it has been historically happened through parks. So I'm under the thought that it would benefit us to allow them and not to have the city council be responsible for entertaining the tree board. Because that's what happens, and all you need is one person to leave, and then we're in the same situation. And council members have enough, I think, on your plates, day-to-day, rather than take over the people, like what has happened. So I'm gonna be on the same side with Councilwoman Davis. But I do agree with Councilman Armstead that we have to go through the ordinances and make sure that everything is addressed, because I hadn't even thought about it. I thought that the grass was the city's. And I was on tree board for years. I didn't know that that was tree board. It is the city's.
With all of the concerns that have been brought up regarding this transition, I feel like I would be of the opinion that that transition should be reversed until all of those obligations can be designated. So it's a clear path of how things are going to transition. Because it sounds like I wasn't part of that conversation before, with that motion and everything. It seems like it was decided without going through much detail on how this transition will occur and how the obligations will follow who. And I think that should be decided and organized and agreed upon between all the entities before that transition is to occur.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I would like to make a,
Well, you already have a motion to transition to the park. I mean, it's not gonna be over.
I didn't
Oh,
know.
motion, no. I thought you did,
No, it was just opening.
so this motion was previously made.
Yes,
Correct.
council,
The-
yeah.
It was approved. And the ordinance, and we thought that it was just, okay, we're gonna let parks take care of it. But we do know now and found out previously that it has to be an ordinance change. So it's not that we're voting on, here we go, we haven't even.
Okay, so
We haven't gotten to that.
it would have to go through readings and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
At this point. Okay,
Yeah, so it's,
so all of this could be determined prior to that.
Right.
Okay,
yeah,
so then I will remove any pending motion.
yeah, it's just. If you want to keep it as the city, then nobody's gonna work on the ordinances. Because it didn't make sense to pay the attorney to revise ordinances if you were gonna revert. So that's kind of where we are right now. But if we, the current council is going to continue on with the transition going to park district, those are our two options.
Okay.
Yes, right.
The parks and the tree board get together and discuss this.
Well, that's after. I mean, they're gonna have to, we're all gonna have to sit down together and work through it. But are we reversing the order from last council? If we're not, then we go.
I'll make a motion to keep the tree board under park board.
To transition it, to
Yes,
keep the vote.
to keep the vote, to keep the vote that we made from tree board to park board.
Would there even be a motion from that?
No, it's just a discussion to let tree board know that we're carrying on. Unless somebody wants to reverse it.
So I make the motion to just keep it.
So. Any more discussion? Thoughts?
So as long as that can, all of those obligations can be designated prior to the actual ordinance change, just to ensure that this is, everybody can agree upon it, that I guess I'm fine with that.
And I do agree that I think all three boards should maybe all have we should maybe have a joint meeting so we can detail out how that's gonna work, how is the transition going to work? How is tree board going to operate moving forward? Let's get on paper if they do intend on having the board still be its own entity versus dissolving and just going under their wing. I think those are all things that we should sit down and get on paper before readings occur. So we know where everything is at. So there's no, we've done this reading, now let's figure it out. Let's know, yes, this board is going to, no, this board is just going to dissolve. They're gonna just pick it up as just more duties as the park district. I mean, I think those would be, I think they'd be beneficial. And there's really a lot of angst in our board, just trying to figure out, well, we're pushing, we're trying to get the details of our projects. Should we keep working on them or are we going to be dissolved? So I think there was some confusion there. If we can schedule after the holidays, we can perhaps say a three-way meeting. Or we'll take our own members, so all of us could get together and hammer that out. I think that'd be beneficial to the full entity, all three entities.
We could print out and send out to Park District and the tree board and the current ordinances that are affected, because it's a couple of different titles that it falls under, and then work from there to create a new amend. We'll have to review some of that and amend parks. So if it's okay with the council, I can start doing some of that and then that's nice. Draft it, take it to the other, obviously, not the plan to go through after, but it starts the discussion. And if that's, I would be willing to start the discussion. So
Yeah. I think we're looking forward to it. I mean, trees are fun. And the tree board is, there's nothing decisive about it. It's just how can we make this town look better? How can we use those funds that it gathers to benefit the city and its residents? We recognize that it hasn't done a good job, which is why the conversation started. We want to try to breathe new life into this board. We have a lot of new talent that I got forgotten. You can see there's a clear divide from the satellite, which side has trees and which side doesn't.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I did, when I was looking at the ordinance, find out because one of my projects is old trees. And found out that that does fall under tree board.
it does, yeah,
Didn't you know that?
yeah, 1, 11, 10. Oh, yeah, and that's one of the benefits to having some of this ordinance, if the city were to, public works, you could be PD, you could be a member of this board. Deciding, hey, there's a dangerous tree, needs to be removed, talk to the resident, they say no, they're not gonna do it. But right now the city has the ability to go in and remove that tree and then assess that cost back to the resident. If through this code, so, those are things that the city might want to maintain. I know in years past, Rob has sent out his staff and he was the director to trim trees so it wasn't damaging equipment during snow. So without some of those protections, we could run into those issues in future years. So.
Great, thank you for your offer, Mayor. I think that's on.
That'd be calling.
Yeah.
Perfect.
For working with you. Thank you. Heather.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, Brandy Locken, animal discussion.
Brandy Logan, thank you, Mayor, Council. Good evening, thanks for serving Lincoln. I'm a Lincoln resident, I live on McDougal Drive, and I'd like to speak a little bit about the ordinance 50205, the keeping of animals in public prohibited. I'm new to this process, so I know we did vote earlier on it, but I'm not aware of how many times this has been brought up before. So I apologize if some of this information might be repetitive, might have heard it before. It's a little new to me. On November 5th, an officer came to my house and said that a citizen had seen birds in my backyard. He made me aware that the keeping of fowl was not allowed. I did tell him I have a pet duck and some other birds. At that time, I became concerned about my pets. I looked online to find the ordinance and exactly what it said. Also contacted a friend about moving my birds. If I could not meet with the city council, you might have noticed I was here at the last meeting. I'm trying to get on the agenda, so that is what I did. It was an impulse buy, and I bought a duck and a chicken this spring before we had the vote for the new ordinance. I did vote on that. I am in favor of that. Let's see. When it didn't pass, I kind of thought that basically Lincoln didn't want like chicken farms in town. More like numbers of 20 to 50 birds, and that I could totally understand. I had one chicken and one duck at the time. It never crossed my mind as being a huge ordeal or problem or nuisance. On November 6th, another cop officer came to my house and he'd given me this sheet of paper, not already, but the printout, and it reads, it has the ordinance on it. And on 2 places it mentions written permission from the city council for non-conforming pets. So that's what I've come here for. I'd like to ask permission for my duck Ching Ching and then my 2 chickens, Coco and Gemma. They are certified. I have the certifications here. They are emotional support pets. So the last time I came, I was here to ask permission, and the officer, when I left the meeting that night, the officer that gave me the warning at the house, him and 3 other officers approached me in the parking lot at the meeting the last time and gave me a $500 ticket. And they knew that I was here and in the process of trying to get either permission for my pets or find some time to rehome them or move them or whatever I needed to do. I have looked up some similar situations online, and most people were given a warning, and they were either given 1 week to even up to a month to rehome their birds before they went to the next step with fines or removing the animals themselves, things like that. So this brings me to today. I would like the council to consider granting me written permission for my pet duck and my 2 chickens, which are emotional support animals. I have realized that having these outdoor birds is truly something therapeutic, and a lot of community members agree with me. A lot of people do really want chickens. Right now we have a petition running and we have over 115 signatures as of yesterday. So if you could please revisit that, that would be great. I would just like to talk a little bit about North Dakota. For some reason, North Dakota is the least chicken-friendly state in the whole country. So out of all the states in the United States, we have the least amount of chickens allowed as backyard chickens. It seems unusual because we are agricultural and still very rural. But as many of you may know, the movement of backyard chickens, homesteading, urban gardens, self-sustainability, organic food, and compassionate farming is a huge movement right now. Having a food source at home is very valuable. A lot of positive things, anywhere from fresh eggs, pest control, fertilizer, waste reduction. And other things, selling eggs and meat, local handyman jobs, building coops and fences. Even mental and physical health, spending more time outside, giving people a sense of purpose, self-esteem, confidence, and building relationships within the community. A lot of people who all have chickens kind of, they go to farmers markets, they join Facebook groups. It's nice to have a group of people that are passionate about something. Also for kids, I know we've had the Girl Scouts in here. 4-H is a big thing. Kids can do bird shows, things like that, and it gives them a chance to be in groups and be able to get awards and learn skills. So this is a common debate, and Brian might have touched on it a little bit. Why should we allow chickens? It's kind of the same debate as the dog lover and the dog hater. Both sides have rights. The laws need to be fair and balanced for everyone. A citizen who is against dogs for reasons like barking, smell, danger, or loss of value, and a citizen who wants dogs for enjoying the outdoors with a companion, help with a disability, emotional well-being, the ability to choose the type of dog, including size and breed. This side also carries the responsibility of respecting the rights of others, like keeping the public safe from dog attacks, cleaning up after them, and limiting nuisance issues like barking. This argument can be the same exact for chickens, whether it's a dog or it's chicken, you have both sides. It should be hopefully part of a person's freedom of choice, whether their pet is a dog or a chicken or a reptile or a hamster or a snake. I mean, when I lived in Parkview, we had a family that I babysat for that had 2 pot-bellied pigs as a pet. And they weren't a danger to the community, they weren't noisy or harmful, or if they escaped, nobody was gonna get attacked by a pig or a chicken. So, that's why I'd like to bring up the ordinance, a new ordinance. I do think copying Mandan, which they do allow for chickens already, that would be a great way to make kind of continuity throughout the area. We've got Mandan, Bismarck also allows chickens, but only in the rural residential areas. So literally 2 houses behind me, you can have 10 chickens. But my house on McDougal, I received a $500 fine. So it's kind of something that seems kind of unfair. Somebody can have 2 houses away from me, have 10 chickens, and then, you know, I cannot. So I'd like to look at allowing the backyard chicken ordinance. Mandan, their ordinance allows 4. And I have a copy here. The only thing I'd like to change on this to make it for Lincoln is removing the word called from theirs and just do it removed. So somebody can rehome a bird or something like that instead of have to kill it. So otherwise I have the Mandan ordinance here if anybody would like to take a look at that. Let's see. So there are 20 municipalities in North Dakota that have already changed ordinances to allow chickens. A lot of times you'll say Bismarck does not allow them, but they actually do. It allows 10 chickens in rural residential zones, which is all pretty much surrounding Lincoln and all the north part of Bismarck, all allows 10 chickens. Fargo allows 4, Grand Forks 6, Minot 4, West Fargo 6. Jamestown actually allows 30 chickens, but they're mostly for butcher. You can have 30 chickens for butchering as long as kept in an enclosure until August 31st every year. And I could find no other restrictions on that besides you can have 30 chickens to butcher. Dickinson is the same as Bismarck. Any rural residential can have 10. Williston is 4. Park River is 8. Horace, which is commonly compared to Lincoln, you can actually have chickens with written permission from your neighbors. You can have 4 chickens per permit and a maximum of 20 permits. So you can actually have a total of 80 chickens as long as your neighbors sign off on it. So that's kind of neat. Beach, you can have chickens as long as they're kept within an enclosure. So there's no specifics on that. Some of the other towns, Wapaton, Grafton, Carrington, Langdon, Oaks, Botno, Stanley, Pembina, Beachtown, and Rugby are just some of the many towns within the 20 municipalities that chickens are allowed. There's probably more. I didn't look up every single town. So we can see that having chickens is very popular. I'm actually surprised that it's illegal anywhere in the state. I looked online numerous times to kind of find where chickens, I mean, it's obviously agricultural, a lot of us came from farms and stuff, and I can't find anywhere where it changed from being legal to being illegal. So I think it was somewhere around the 1960s when the big factory farming practices started to come in and you could get chicken at the grocery store more easily and eggs delivered right to your front door. So another interesting fact is you can even keep chickens in New York City. You can have as many hens as you want, no roosters, but as long as you don't create a nuisance for your neighbors with noise, odors, or pests, you don't need to even register chickens. New York City, their zoning allows agricultural uses in most residential, commercial, and manufacturing districts, except for where amusement parks are. So literally anywhere in New York City you can have chickens, which is kind of cool and interesting. So I believe if New York City can allow chickens, we here in Lincoln certainly can too. We've got plenty of room to do it. There should really be few problems as long as people are responsible and we do have the ordinance and guidelines in place. One thing I do want to mention that is a big benefit to having chickens that we can actually kind of hold in our hearts a little bit is the horrible practice that goes with factory farming for chickens. Maybe some people have heard of it before, but obviously, female chickens, their beaks are cut off. They're put in little cages, 18 to 24, with about 10 birds in each. And they live 2 years. They can't even lift their wings. They just lay eggs. The lights are manipulated, so they're laying eggs constantly. And by the time their 2 years is up, they're sold for cat or dog food because their bodies are so in such bad condition that they're not even used for human consumption. So they're really tortured. And one thing backyard chickens can bring is it can bring those factory numbers down, if it's a big movement, which it is, over the country, factory farming numbers can come down where it's more ethical. So they can do the pasture raised birds and stuff like that. So they don't have 300 million birds constantly going through there, just a little bit. If it's brought down 10% or something by backyard chicken ordinances, everybody will actually have better and healthier eggs because the chickens will be treated better. So that's one way to look at it. Like I talked about before, the few ordinance options, we could do exactly the same ordinance as Mandan. Ryan Glass, he has also brought forward an ordinance that we tried to pass this summer. And then, like I thought of just adjusting the Mandan ordinance as our own and changing just a couple words like culled instead and using removed or rehomed. So we don't have to worry about the people who do have them as pets, they don't have to keep their birds. So if we could try that again. And then I did mention, we do have a legalized backyard chickens in Lincoln, North Dakota, a petition that is currently circulating that has 115 signatures. So we'd like to continue on with that.
Randy, I have a question for you. Did you mention when you purchased?
No, I didn't mention it, but I got my chicken and duck May 1st.
May 1st.
Yeah.
Can I just get clarification? We're not here to change the ordinance. So can we not talk about that? What we're talking about now tonight is you asking for permission. So can we
Sure
bring it back to that, please?
Yep, so all I wanted to do is, I would like to ask permission for my 2 chickens and my duck. My 2 emotional support chickens and my duck. And then, the only question I have is, what do we need to do to further to be able to bring to vote again, changing the ordinance, or what happens if we do bring forth the petition and get, let's say 600 signatures, what would happen at that step?
And then you can say, I don't want to.
I'm very torn on this. My wife and I spend a lot of time with local rescues, humanity, working with them, help with animals. I totally understand the emotional support to them. The part that pulls me away from that though is that you had purchased these animals prior to the voting when it was illegal to have them, and then maintain them after the voting when it was. So it seems like this didn't really come up until after you got in trouble for them. So that's the part that is making it a little tough for me to say, yeah, I'm on board with just granting a special permission to this. I guess, does anybody else have opinions on that?
My opinion is that, it's similar to yours, Councilman Bierstadt. This is something that the city of Lincoln voted on recently in the summer. And therefore, I think that as, elected officials, we have to hold to what the people have, what they have chosen. So I don't see any issue with you moving forward with the petition. I would like to see that happen at a normal election time so that there's no cost to the city. So that if it's going to move forward because people are going to get out and vote for it, I have absolutely no issue with that. But it has to be something, in my estimation, in my opinion, that comes from the people.
So how do I do, when is the next normal election time?
June of 26.
Every 2 years.
And do we need to bring forth a petition to have that up for the election?
I think you can come, is it coming to us to put it on a ballot, or is it going to the state mayor?
That's going to have to be a legal question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, attorney,
That's what I,
The last one,
was brought here, correct?
yes, and then we got it
And
on.
got it on the ballot.
It's a straw vote.
So you can then write an ordinance and bring it to the city and
Well,
ask
you've
for
already
it
got
to
it.
be put on the ballot for that time of said election,
Which is what we did previous.
previous,
yes,
yes.
because I had voted for that one and it was on the ballot with all the,
The word's
Other-
changed, yeah.
all the. So that's all I have to do is just bring an ordinance and say I wanna vote on this in June of 2020.
Want to add it to the
And-
ballot for it,
Yeah,
Right,
the
we see
council- The council vote to.
to add it to the ballot.
Yeah.
The deadline for that.
You can check probably with the Secretary of State's office.
I don't know off the top of my head. It's a certain day requirement that cities.
I would assume 30 days for sure prior to.
It's more.
I think it's not.
It's 90 or
But
60. I can.
We could get the
clarify.
Definitely not.
So did you know if we got over 600, if we got over 10% of the vote from the public, we can't bring it forward for a special election?
correct.
So there's no way to bring it forward for a special election?
I don't believe so, because it didn't hit the requirement to do so.
What is the
Well,
requirement?
there is,
Believe.
or am I we voted on it, and the city voted on it, the voters go. So if there's any correction,
I don't have an answer, off the top of my head.
I know that, I mean, council could vote to change ordinance for it, but then we'd be going against
What the people.
what the
voted.
people already voted on just a couple months ago. So that,
The 600 number she's referencing would surpass the total number of people voted in the primary election. The reason that our movement is looking at numbers, if we brought double the number of people that voted against it to hopefully at least show council that the people, that there's more support out there than people that actually went to the ballot box. We know that.
but the people that did go to the ballot box voted no.
Correct, but if
They make
if we gathered a petition signature, at least show the council that the interest is there. I think that automatically voids the people that voted no, but it should at least show council that there are 600 people that were willing to say yes. And if they're in support of this, it show the council that there is more of a majority out there than what the ballot show.
And what I also heard was that some people didn't even vote yes or no on the chicken part because they didn't have a concern either way.
But the votes that did.
And it doesn't help us either, though, does
So-
it? It's sad when they do that.
And so at this point, from what I'm gathering from, is that we won't address Purdue.
And the
Written.
chicken until June of 2026.
2026 is when it would be.
And then I can find out from the Secretary of State the deadline to have that added.
They should have all that info on their website.
And then you are not gonna allow me to have written permission for my duck or chickens.
With the circumstances of purchasing prior, holding after, I would lean towards no. That's my vote for that one. Thank you, Brandon.
Next, on the agenda, portfolios. Councilwoman Davis.
For the office, we have Kim completed the November newsletter, signed up for 2-part EPA webinar on grants, excuse me. Completed business communication etiquette training. Tammy completed the payrolls, payables, sent videos to Dakota Media, completed a few webinars with EPA grants, Blue Cross Blue Shield, me a new program. Maybe it's not supposed to be in there.
It's .me is what it's called.
Blue Cross Blue Shield .me, a new program coming out for employees. Climate resilience training, EPA's final lead and copper rule improvement, top 3 employment law trends to watch for in fourth quarter of 2024, local infrastructure hub BIL anniversary, and Supreme Court preview for local governments of 24-25 term. Also read and learned for some manuals, managing meetings, understanding and preventing incivility at work, and business communication etiquette. Tanya worked with the state auditors for the 22-23 audit, and then completed a few webinars working on October's statement as well. That's it.
Questions, comments? Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Artovia.
So I was given some information, shelter in place with hazardous materials incident, and we put these brochures on the back table. Every season to prepare, more information for emergency preparedness for our residents. And then also our chief of police has asked that people please participate in the anonymous public safety survey. And you can get that information, I believe, on your Facebook page for the police department for the city of Lincoln. And then if you have any questions, you can also reach them at 258-2403 or by emailing them at lpd@cityoflincolnnd.com. And that's all I have.
I actually have a question for Councilmember Artadi. It was posted on Facebook a little while back that somebody had a trailer hooked up to their vehicle in front of their house, and they ended up paying a ticket due to the ordinance restricting any trailers being on the streets from, I believe it's at some point in November, until spring.
No, November 1.
Thank you. I had a few people raise concerns to me regarding contractors who are doing snow removal. If they are parking their vehicles and trailers on the street to perform snow removal for residents or businesses in the area, they're concerned that they're going to be getting issued tickets. Is there something that could be done for maybe addressing particular circumstances, like just throwing it out there, not saying it's the right way to go, but like if the trailer is actively hooked up to the vehicle, that it wouldn't be getting ticketed, it's being assumed to be in use at the time, or
Your help?
We've expressed to people that have called in and asked this question about their trailers or such situations or moving or anything to contact the office. Then what we do is make a notate on the address or the account or the information, and we inform the police department. We do advise them that per ordinance, it is up to the officer on duty's decision in regarding on issuing a citation ticket or whatever or not, because that's what the ordinance reads as. But if they call us, we can inform the police department, let them know or be aware of said situation.
okay, so thank you.
To go along with that, Tammy, before you walk away, I do have a question. So Bismarck, right, if they have like a work truck that's parked on the side of the road where you can't necessarily park, they have a sheet of paper that says in service, right? Yeah, right. Would that necessarily be something that would be beneficial as well? Or is that not necessarily okay either, because then anybody can then just put it in and just say in service?
I mean, I guess that you could maybe consider like a short-term permit that they could get from the city to, you know, like a 24-hour, 10-hour or whatever kind of a period or something like that. But I mean, just easier call out if you're moving, if this is the scenario or situation, you know, it's more for them to doing the snow removal, you know, garbage days when they're coming, you know, to not be blocked, but like any of that situation, it's just winter's a harder time. So.
Thank you.
have anything to add?
Councilman Bernstein.
The old water tank has been drained. The grass and trees have all been hauled out of the swamp area. First with him. Public Works ran along the curb lines, cleaned up any snow drifts after our last weather event that we had. That was fun. Terry and Tim went to a stormwater class that the city of Bismarck put on. And I was able to sit in on brief meeting that the Public Works Director and Engineer had with Mid-States. They're the ones that have been giving us a lot of information regarding capacity that we're looking at using for repairing a lot of our streets. I'm hoping that at our next meeting, we'll be able to come forward with some more detailed information on some of the materials and stuff that we'd like to kind of get the ball rolling on that, so we're ready to actually do some work in the spring or early summer next year. So. But I have.
All right, I am handing you now, I had appointed a member to tree board. Her name is Tammy Cattermas. And so what I am looking for tonight is approval of that appointment. And that would just require a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion to approve Tammy Cattermas for tree board.
I'll second.
We have a first by Councilman Davis, and a second by Councilman Bjornstead. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And so moved. Thank you very much. The meetings outside of the normal monthly meetings, there were a couple of us that went to the Lincoln Elementary Government Panel, and that was wonderful to visit with the kiddos there, all of the third grade classes. I did attend a local emergency planning committee meeting, and the discussions of that were hazardous material response plans and multi-hazard mitigation plan updates. That's a once a year meeting where they discuss well, those things. So on the MPO board, we approved projects to construct a single lane roundabout for fiscal year 2029. And that will be at the end of Yagan Road and Lincoln Road. So that'll be an exciting
What year did you say on that?
2029. They plan those out.
That's right, in the airport.
Right, on this side, the Yagan Road and Lincoln Road. So right now it's a three-way stop. That'll be nice to allow interesting quicker rounding about. So and then another conversation we had, we approved the memorandum agreement with Big Sky Passenger Rail. I actually attended a webinar today where they presented some of their corridor goals. And that would be revitalizing these local communities, maybe increasing, adding some employment opportunities. Just, you know, in the beginning stages of this is likely going to run into 2030 before it all comes to fruition, because it is quite an undertaking, but that will allow the rails to come through this area without having to go to the northern part of the state, straight through east and west, maybe even going through the Twin Cities up to Montana. So that'll be nice. Just so you know, it isn't going to be at the state level. This is all federal funds that would take care of that, all those operating costs. So the portfolios, as we were looking at this tree board, some of the verbiage in ordinance was the tree portfolio serves as liaison. I didn't know we had true portfolio. So, one of the things that we had talked about straight away is kind of taking some time to find out what our portfolios consist of. So just a reminder, hope that we're gonna be taking a look at some of those. I don't know if anybody's been working on that. I can say I haven't. But if we can make an effort to start working on those if you haven't. And then Cat Cafe. Did you want to give an update as to Board of Adjustments responsibility?
I have been drafting and I'm almost completed with the memo to the Board of Adjustments of what their authority is for the Cat Cafe. The Board of Adjustment has the authority to interpret the Lincoln ordinances for permitted uses in certain use groups. Lincoln has a subsection that is an improper delegation of authority. It provided that any use that the Board of Adjustment determines fits within a use group automatically gets added to the Lincoln code, which is improper. They are, and the proper authority is that they can interpret it and add or approve the use, but it does not get added unless the council adds it and approves it. So that will be given to the Board of Adjustment for sure before their meeting on Tuesday. But everything else in that ordinance would approve that moving forward.
Which is nice for to be able to get that at Cafe up and running. So thank you for that. As a reminder, there is a vacant seat on the council. So if you are interested, please fill out a citizen interest form and get that into the city. I have a question that I was hoping to, that I will ask about. If the council is interested in inviting Santa to come to the city for photos with littles, that we would have to purchase certain items to outfit. But that could be an annual thing that we provide for the citizens. That could be, I don't.
No objection here, no. We have previously. Terry, you want to be Santa?
No, I have been coding everything, so littles that are here. So. Flop your beard.
We'll see if Terry contacts Santa.
It's a graveyard thing, like you.
But I had done some looking online for cost for new uniforms, and that could be upwards of a couple $100, but that would be a one-time expense. And
Do we
council is
know,
okay with that?
I don't have any objections. Do we know anyone who was previously
I have reached out,
have said?
but I have reached out and haven't heard anything back. So. So, and to not run into this year by year, it's a minimal investment, I think, in order for us to make sure that.
You bring a lot of excitement to the kids.
Oh,
Yes, definitely. It's always fun, that's for sure.
Last
Last
year
year was
Santa
fun.
needs enough cookies. So, okay, so, does somebody want to do that? Or as far as do some shopping, or shall I?
And it's just something that you're all checking into. I don't have any objection if you wanted to. I honestly wouldn't really know what to look for in that matter, so.
So, is there a max that council would be comfortable with spending to set this up?
I have no idea what,
The outright would be a couple hundred to as high as. So one of them was $500, but it came with a visit from Santa, Mrs. Claus, and her elf, and an elf. But there are. No, but that's the grand package, and that was a total of $650.
So I wanna say like, if you find something 300 and under, if you feel like you're struggling with that, like bring it to us at the next meeting, this we need to.
And we could easily follow through with the $300 budget. We don't necessarily need a reindeer to come and deliver 3 people.
Tammy, what you got?
If, since we are considering a setting grant board, we also probably propose a date so we can make up like a flyer or something to get the information out there. And
Now you're gonna make us look at calendars?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a Saturday afternoon, it could be during Christmas break, when the kids aren't in school, we could do it during the day. Or I guess that would be kind of hard for some parents to pick that.
Terry will hire and shop.
I mean, that we,
It's nice of you to offer that, Terry.
I thank you
Tanya
so
offered to
very
come down
much
and
for
help clean,
offering
too.
the shop. Thank you
She
so
has all the
much.
time in the world. She told me to come and help clean.
Terry will
So-
collect all the necessary snow needed for Santa.
We're very
He's ready
thankful for the
land.
shop.
I'll gather it all and put it in the parking.
So December 21st or.
What day is the
15th?
21st?
That'd be a Saturday.
Right, right.
Is it easier a Saturday or a Sunday? Because this would likely be more on the council than I would think cities.
Or a Friday night or a Friday.
Because we could have hot chocolate and are we going to ask the city staff to participate?
There's no city staff involved. Unless we.
Were we there last
Orange.
year?
And make sure we have enough on our plate already.
Understand.
So this would be a so. But it's your department.
I'm sorry.
So how is your budget?
My community, there has been no city auditor available.
So, okay, so as far as council, then do we want to do a Saturday, a Sunday, a Friday night?
And if I'm volunteering for being outside in the weather, I probably better know how long
Oh, we're gonna do it in the shop.
in the shop.
Well, Santa's
Oh,
gonna
it's
be
not gonna be
inside.
outside.
Santa's gonna be inside.
Okay.
I think Santa visited before and he was inside
He was in the shop,
with the nice signs and directions on where to go to.
Correct. And then Santa's got candy canes to hand out or.
Oh, yeah, we could do it in the conference room too.
I would allow you to have it in the conference.
All the presents for the police.
Are we doing, are you buying present?
Uh-huh.
They're all going.
Parkboard, parkboard fine, treasure, she said.
I did
Sorry.
I did speak with Chief Giddings after the last council meeting and asked if he would be collecting gifts and stuff, and he's like, yes. And then I did talk to Officer Sauer briefly, and he was gonna talk to Giddings because he's working evenings and kind of give me an update. I haven't gotten one as yet, but he did say he would be interested in collecting donations.
Okay, here. Okay, so. Inside conference room, hot chocolate, hot chocolate.
On the 21st or?
I will make whatever works for you.
On the 21st.
And that's, yeah, I think that would be a good date.
Saturday, the 21st of December, at what time? To what time?
Let's keep it not too long.
2 to 4. That actually sounds pretty good, right before dinner, and they can have hot chocolate. Cry before they eat.
At least it's not right before bedtime.
I mean, if you're looking with the little kids, that's nap time. So
2 to 4.
Yeah.
or with the 1 to 3 is like nap time.
How about
So I'm saying that's why I said 2 to 4.
noon to 2?
I don't know about lunchtime.
Terry just said he would do it all day.
I think 3 to
Drink
4
chocolate, yes.
might be 3 to 4, 3 to 5, 3 to 4.
I say 2 hours, but we can,
I would say you're 3 to 5.
3 to 5,
Before people are going on other dates or meeting families for dinner.
because then they can have time to plan stuff and stuff too for them.
okay.
Thank you.
So December 21st from 3 to 5?
Santa's coming.
Let me count.
Oh, great.
I know, yes.
5 to 2.
I might have one in my basement, so they don't.
Well, then this would be the setup.
We need to set up the Christmas tree, you know, I'm just saying, you know. Santa's down a tree. And lots of lights.
We
I
do
was gonna
have,
say, do we have a Christmas
we
tree?
have 2 or 3 trees.
We do.
We do.
Okay, we'll have 2.
We got some decorations too, if they're right, Terry.
We
From last year?
do.
Yeah, it's all up in the blue shop down there.
Yeah, 3 to 5, yes.
Okay.
I have a hard to get you.
So-
Break it down.
That is what I have. And so can we ask the city staff to organize the chocolate? Or, no, everybody want to do that? We're not having.
Need that, but I'll put a quantity next to that.
Okay, I have a water jug or coffee maker thing. For that food conversation.
Okay.
So,
I think what I would do is ask. You know, Capital Electric always says they're wanting to maybe give a gift. Maybe they would purchase some hot chocolate for the city of Kent.
good idea.
Have a little sample.
I'll reach out to
Maybe the fire department, I don't know if they do that too, but
West as an option.
I think that would be good. We've not asked them for anything.
We have a meeting with them on Monday morning, so. All right. Auditor's report.
My auditor report is, I reported on the prairie dog funds that we will be using them for a future project. That report was accepted. The 3 CDs that we discussed last council meeting, we took the 18-month, we now have 3 6-month CDs. They will all come due on May 18th. They went back in, they were at 5%, they, I got them up to 440. So that's what they're reinvested at this time. My other item I'd like to bring up, I'd like to be closed the day after Thanksgiving. It has been brought to my attention that last year, the day after Thanksgiving, that there were no phone calls and nobody had stopped in the office. Other than just working on your own items. And maybe we could just close the office on that Friday.
Motion to approve closing the office Friday after Thanksgiving.
I'll second that motion.
We have a first by Councilman Artadia. Second by Councilwoman Davis. All in favor say aye.
I
Opposed? So moved.
And that does not feature a shop. They have to.
no. It wasn't on your agenda.
I already talked to Derek, so. Talked to Derek before she even thought about it. I gave her the idea.
It was actually supposed to be on my last agenda and I didn't make it on my last agenda.
Okay, so you put that on the city website then?
We will, Tammy will put that on the city website. They don't give me access to that stuff. Alright. Other than that, I'm still working, on getting all the information to the state auditors. I think I've about come to the end of that. They're hoping to have the 22-23 audit completed by the 1st of January. That's the goal.
Nice. Good work.
I went to break on my, working on this statement a lot, so. Hopefully they have what they need. Other than a couple conversations, said they hope to have it done and completed by the first.
Oh, I have. All right, so if there's anything else to come before the council? No. It is 7:45 and we stand adjourned.